Hey guys! So today we are going to talk about software team composition and how you should structure a software developer team. Let's get into it. Now, this is of course just based on my experiences, and of course there are endless ways that you could do this, and all I can really tell you is what I've seen so far and what I believe to be all things considered, the best way to structure things, and not just from the engineering perspective, but from the business perspective as well. Because one thing that I learned a long time ago from one of I respect that guy, and it's insane. I only met him once or twice so far. And I really don't know him all that well, but he's one of the managers at one of the big IT companies here in Gothenburg, or the consultancies. And he explained something to me when I was in school. We were actually there visiting him to kind of just pick his brains about software engineering and management and so forth. A few students, me included. And he said, guys, you think that big successful companies only wants to hire senior developers, but the thing is that having an entire team of seasoned veterans is not economical. And we all kind of sat there and like, what do you mean? Of course it's going to be the best thing. You have all these seasoned veterans who know exactly everything about everything. How could that possibly not be economical? And he said, because these people cost so much more money than they're worth. And we're like, what? Think about it. So most of the difference between a really seasoned veteran and a normal level software developer is the experience. The amount of experience the person has, and how well they can solve very, very complicated problems, the sort of problems that someone with less experience can't really deal with. And so this manager, he said, and that means that there is a sweet spot for things. Because think about it from this perspective. Most of the problems that you face are not requiring a super senior super developer. And that stuck with me. Because when he said that, it was like he opened something in my head and I realized he's right. Most of what we software developers do, although it is, for someone who doesn't know what a programmer does, of course everything seems very complicated, but for a junior software developer or a mid-level software developer will know how to do most of the stuff that a truly senior individual will. But the difference is that they don't have the experience and the tools need, or the mental tools needed in order to make decisions and solve extremely complicated problems. And so when he said that, it made me real, and I actually saw this, snippets of it throughout my career so far, that honestly, the most efficient software developer teams only has one, maybe two really senior people on staff. And if you think about it, it actually makes sense, because the senior software developers are only really required when it comes to really complicated or management level type of decisions or things of that nature. And for the most part, you as a company, you will get a diminishing return on investment the more seniors you have, because it's not about the speed. Regular everyday programming problems, the software senior is going to solve in basically the same amount of time that it's going to take a mid-level programmer or a junior programmer to solve the problem. Coding speed is not why you hire a senior. It's very complicated problems, and managing or making sure that you raise the experience and the competency level of everybody else in the team. So ideally what you want, at least from my perspective, is that you want to have, let's say that you have a team of 4 software developers. Ideally, the ratio should be that you have one senior team lead someone with a lot of experience who can solve extremely complicated problems for when you have those sort of problems. Ideally, this is the sort of person who knows things about infrastructure, things of that nature, skill sets that are extremely hard to just learn by books. You really need experience in order to do this. And operations is one of those things. You do not get good at operations without experience. And then you should ideally have one or two, depending on what you're going for, mid-level programmers they don't need really somebody who checks them all that much. They are fairly, they churn out code, ideally with a complementary skill set to the person who is the true senior, right? And then you have one or two more junior profiles. And actually, that makes a lot of sense. If when I think about it, it makes more sense than I can possibly. It's a new level of thinking for me, at least, because the juniors, although they are inexperienced, if they are supervised by the senior, and their code is reviewed, and you have a good working process at the company, they will actually be very cheap labor. And they will in turn, but that's very much, you really need to have a good senior. It's very important that you have a good senior, because the senior needs to have the mentality that he is there or she is there to not only produce good solutions and make good decisions, but also to train the more junior profiles. They need to have that flair for training. Because what's going to happen is that you're going to pay juniors a junior level salary, but they're going to, with that extra help, most likely produce at a much higher level. And it's actually very funny, because that's the composition, at least from my experience, that I see in the most efficient software development teams. I was part of such a development team, and honestly, I really think that this is the way to go. And the key thing here is, of course, you need good people. You need good juniors. You should always strive to get good people. But it is especially true that you need a good senior, and that's the tricky part. You should, because you think about it, that person is most likely going to cost you a lot more money. But as this guy we were talking to, as he described it, you actually make, from a financial point of view, you actually make up that money if you can have one senior and 2 or 3 juniors. That's actually going to be cheaper than having 4 seniors. If you think about it from a producing software of quality versus cost ratio type of deal, right? But as I said, it's very important to have a senior who not only has the experience, but also has the will and the passion to train and educate the juniors. I have met such a person, and he was at my old company. His name is Mark. I don't think there is a human being that I respect more than that man. And he is probably, in my head, he is the perfect senior. Like, he was the perfect senior, at least from my perspective. I have so much to thank him for. But think about it this way. He's been in the business for so many years. He knows the stuff. He's senior to the point where it doesn't really matter what language he works in. He can just do it. He has the work experience, so he can actually make good decisions, not only for the team, but for the company as a whole. And he's a very nice guy. That's a perfect senior right there. So those are my thoughts on this matter. Don't believe that just because you don't put like a bunch of seniors in one team, it's just going to be a lot of money thrown down the drain, because most of the problems that you're solving can actually be solved as efficiently by a mid-level programmer or a junior programmer as by a senior. But you need the senior in order for those situations where you have a really tricky problem, or you need to make company or technical decisions. So, 1 senior, 1 or 2 mid-level programmers, and the rest should be junior developers. That seems to be a very good composition for a software development team. Have a great day.